Attention! This is not just another YouTube video. What you're about to witness will shatter your concept of fear. Do you think you know terror? Are you truly ready to confront a secret so cold, so horrifying, I shouldn't be alive to speak of it? Then don't hesitate. Subscribe right now, smash that notification bell, obliterate the like button, and share this video everywhere, because the exclusive bone-chilling episodes dropping for members, only 99 cents, reveal truths others die to. Prepare to face the nightmare buried in the ice, a story whispered only in the deadliest silences. Let's begin. I shouldn't be typing these words. Honestly, I shouldn't even draw breath right now. But the truth, someone has to expose what's unfolding out there, hidden deep within the icy desolation where the world isn't looking. Forget Area 51, the endless memes, the Storm Area 51 nonsense, all those convoluted conspiracy theories you hear online. It's all a diversion, a masterfully crafted illusion designed to keep eyes away from the real horror. My name is Michael Trevino, or at least it was. Until 3 months ago, I was just another cog in the machine, a data analyst for the Department of Defense. My days were spent in a sterile, nondescript office building in Northern Virginia, managing personnel databases. Nothing classified, nothing exciting, or so I believed. My security clearance was minimal, just enough to let me handle the mundane flow of digital records. It all began with a simple mistake, a misplaced file during a routine system update. Someone, likely an overworked intern, had carelessly dumped a stack of physical backup folders onto my desk. Standard procedure dictated I digitize them. Tedious work but necessary. It was while sorting through these mundane personnel reports that I found it, an anomaly. A plain manila folder, tucked away between routine files, caught my eye. It bore no standard markings, only the cryptic label Operação Permafrost, and a string of alphanumeric characters that defied our standard departmental filing protocols. A cold dread washed over me the instant I flipped it open. This wasn't meant for my eyes, not for someone with my clearance level. The contents confirmed my fear immediately. Inside were satellite photographs, grainy but clear enough, depicting what appeared to be sprawling research complexes almost entirely swallowed by snow and ice. Accompanying them were detailed geological surveys mapping vast underground structures deep beneath southern Alaska. My unease grew with every page turn. Then came the personnel. Transfer orders, rerouting individuals to a location designated only as Site Mimir. A quick search confirmed my suspicion. Site Mimir didn't officially exist in any accessible DoD personnel or facility database. It was a ghost site, deliberately kept off the books. But the final page was the one that truly stole the air from my lungs, leaving a knot of ice in my gut. A single stark document titled Cryogenic Preservation Protocol, Human Trials, Phase 3. Human trials. The words echoed in the sudden silence of my bland office cubicle. My training screamed at me, reported immediately. Misplaced classified documents, especially ones hinting at unsanctioned human experimentation, were priority one for internal security. Following protocol was the only sane, safe option, but I didn't. Instead, driven by a reckless cocktail of morbid curiosity and a naive sense that I'd stumbled onto something monumental, something deeply wrong, I did the unthinkable. I pulled out my personal smartphone and, hands trembling slightly, began photographing every page within that forbidden folder. That single act of defiance, that split-second decision to break protocol, became the catalyst that shattered my ordinary life into a million irreparable pieces. Looking back, I still don't fully understand the impulse, only the devastating consequences that followed, swift and sure. 2 days passed in a haze of feigned normalcy. I tried to bury the images, both digital and mental, pretending The permafrost folder never existed. Then came the summons. Not an email, not an inter-office memo, but a direct call to report to conference room 7B immediately. Waiting for me were two men. They weren't military, not in uniform anyway, and they didn't carry the usual bureaucratic stiffness of career government officials. They wore impeccably tailored dark suits that seemed out of place in our drab building, their eyes sharp and unnervingly focused. They didn't mention the folder. They didn't need to. Their questions were surgical, probing my recent work patterns, my access logs, specific times I might have been near the central filing archives. They danced around the subject, but their scrutiny felt like a physical weight, their gazes never leaving my face as I stammered out my practiced lies. I told them nothing, denied seeing anything out of the ordinary, stuck to my fabricated timeline. They let me leave, their expressions unreadable. But the air in the room remained thick with unspoken threat. That night, the illusion of safety shattered completely. My apartment was breached. Professionals, no forced entry, no overt signs of disturbance. But the feeling was undeniable, a subtle wrongness in the air, the faint displacement of objects. My personal laptop, slightly askew on the desk, and the external backup drive where I'd foolishly stored the photos of the permafrost documents. Gone, vanished without a trace. Panic, cold and absolute, seized me. I didn't wait. Called in sick the next morning, a flimsy excuse that wouldn't hold up to scrutiny. Drained my bank accounts, grabbing every dollar in cash I could. Then I just drove. North. No destination, no plan, just a desperate flight away from DC, away from the men in suits and the invisible net closing around me. 3 days later, hiding in a grimy motel room outside Buffalo, New York, an email arrived. It was from Darius Wright, a colleague, just another data drone from 2 cubicles down. The email body was empty, containing only a single, ominous link to a news article. A devastating fire had consumed my apartment building. The official report cited a suspected gas leak. 3 fatalities were confirmed, including the elderly couple who lived next door. My blood ran cold. My apartment didn't have a gas line. It was a message, brutal and clear. They could reach me anywhere, and collateral damage meant nothing. I didn't stop driving. North, then west, crossing into Canada, seeking anonymity in the vast, unfamiliar landscape. I became a ghost, living off cash, using burner phones discarded after a single use, sleeping in the cramped confines of my car or in rundown motels that didn't ask for ID. But the paranoia was a constant companion. They were still hunting me, and I couldn't stop digging. The photos were gone, but the information was seared into my memory. Site, Mimir, Operation Permafrost, human trials. I started searching online, carefully using public library computers, encrypted connections, and slowly fragments began to emerge, whispers in obscure forums, redacted government contracts, mentions of strange phenomena in southern Alaska. That's how I found the others. Not many, just a handful scattered across the country, connected by whispers and shared trauma. People who knew about Site Mimir, people who claimed to have worked there, or knew someone who did, and they spoke of the rules. Chilling, bizarre rules necessary for survival in that frozen hell, especially when the subjects got out. I'm documenting everything now, pouring it all out, because I have a sickening feeling my time is running out. They're closing in. I can feel it in the static on the burner phones, in the faces of strangers that linger a second too long. But this story needs to be told. The world needs to know what horrors lie buried beneath the Alaskan permafrost, what ancient nightmares are stirring, no longer content to remain frozen. If you're reading this, it means I succeeded, at least partially. It means I found someone trustworthy, someone to carry this warning, but it also means you might be next. They don't tolerate loose ends. So I've included the rules I learned, the ones passed down from Jack, from Lloyd, pieced together from terrified whispers. Memorize them. Follow them precisely. Your survival might depend on it. Anchorage in the dead of winter is more than just cold. It's an oppressive entity, a soul-crushing desolation that seeps into your bones. The sun is a reluctant visitor, painting the endless snowscape in long, skeletal shadows that seem to claw at you. I'd been holed up for 3 days in a decaying motel off Northern Lights Boulevard, a name far too cheerful for this bleak reality. My room was a chaotic map of my obsession. Printouts littered every surface, obscure government contract awards, geological surveys downloaded from university archives, satellite images from public sources showing nothing but blinding white emptiness. And, pinned to the center, the few precious photos of the permafrost file I'd managed to salvage from a cloud backup before they scrubbed it clean. Sleep offered no escape. Every passing car headlight slicing through the thin curtains sent jolts of adrenaline through me, my hand instinctively reaching for the cheap pocket knife under my pillow. They were coming. The certainty was a physical ache, a constant thrumming beneath my skin. But turning back wasn't an option. I was in too deep. "You look like a man running from ghosts." The voice materialized behind me, startlingly close, as I nursed a lukewarm coffee in a dingy corner booth at a place called Copper Kettle Cafe. My coffee mug clattered against the saucer, the knife heavy in my pocket. "Easy there, friend. Just making an observation." He slid into the vinyl seat opposite me, uninvited. Mid-30s, maybe older, with a beard showing streaks of premature gray against a weathered face. He wore a heavy-duty work jacket, practical, not threatening. But in my world, appearances meant nothing. He didn't look like a government spook, but the ones who'd visited me in Virginia hadn't either. "Name's Jack Reeves," he offered, extending a calloused hand, which I ignored. "Formerly USGS, United States Geological Survey, and you're Michael Trevino, DoD data analyst, officially listed as missing, presumed deceased following that tragic little gas explosion back east." My blood turned to ice water. How did you find me?" The words barely escaped my constricted throat. He chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "You're not nearly as invisible as you imagine, Trevino. Leaving a trail of digital breadcrumbs across Alaska's public record servers, requesting property surveys near Tok, pulling topographical maps of the Wrangell St. Elias Range. Might as well have rented a billboard saying, 'Fugitive hiding here.'" I started to rise, ready to bolt again, consequences be damned. But his next words nailed me to the seat. Site Mimir, 40 miles southeast of Glenallen, nestled deep in the rock beneath what the maps show as an abandoned Cold War-era weather station. I sank back down slowly, defeated. Who are you? Really?" He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Let's just say I was on the ground when it all began. Back in 2014, we were a USGS team, mapping subglacial geology, prospecting for mineral resources. We found something else, something ancient and wrong." His eyes, haunted and weary, met mine. "You know what they're doing up there, don't you? The official story? Cryo-sleep trials for wounded soldiers?" I gave a slight hesitant nod, remembering the file. "That's barely scratching the surface, kid. Just the public-facing lie covering a much darker, colder truth." Jack slid a small, worn notebook across the sticky tabletop. "These are the rules. The basic ones, anyway. Memorize them. Burn this after. If you're truly heading towards Mimir, and let's face it, the trail you're leaving points nowhere else. These might just keep you breathing." "Why would I go there?" I hissed, incredulous. "That sounds like suicide." Jack's gaze held mine, devoid of any comfort. "Because, Trevino, your name is now on a very specific, very permanent list. And the only leverage you might possibly find, the only thing that might get you off that list before they silence you for good, is hidden inside Mimir. And you're just helping me out of altruism? A concerned citizen?" Sarcasm dripped from my voice. He sighed, the sound heavy with grief. "My brother, Dr. Thomas Reeves, he was the lead researcher at Mimir. Until last year. Official story. Climbing accident during recreational leave. Bullshit. Before he died, Jack continued, his voice thick with emotion, he managed to get a package out to me. Coordinates, data fragments, and a single terrifying warning. It's waking up. His voice cracked on the last words. We don't have much time, Trevino. He stood abruptly, scraping his chair back. There's a man in Glenallen, Lloyd Atwood, runs supply transports, knows the restricted zones around Mimir like the back of his hand. Mention the code word Fimbulwinter. He'll know you're connected to Tom, maybe he'll help, but for God's sake be careful and follow those damn rules, especially rule number 4. They get inside your head after dark. I watched him disappear into the sparse lunchtime crowd, leaving me alone with the notebook and a paralyzing sense of dread. Hesitantly, I opened it. Inside, written in neat, precise block letters, Site Mimir, Operational Safety Protocols, abridged. Rule 1, no electronic devices, phones, radios, GPS, within 500 meters of any subject containment area, SCA. They are highly sensitive to and potentially interact with electromagnetic fields. Rule 2, always maintain direct visual contact with the primary entrance/exit during daylight hours. If the entrance vanishes from your sightline, you are experiencing stage 1 psychosensory distortion. Retreat immediately. Rule 3, red light sources only after official sunset. Subjects possess enhanced low-light vision and track movement primarily through ambient light differentials. White light is a beacon. Rule 4, if you hear your name or any familiar voice called out when alone or unobserved, do not respond, do not investigate. It is not who you think it is. Auditory mimicry is a documented capability. Rule 5, the extreme cold is your ally. It inhibits subject activity. If you experience a sudden, inexplicable sensation of warmth or comfort in a sub-zero environment, you are in immediate, critical danger. Assume proximity to an active subject. Rule 6, observe all ice and frost formations. If geometric patterns, crystalline structures deviating from natural fractal formations, appear on any surface, evacuate the immediate vicinity. This indicates environmental manipulation by a subject. Rule 7. Any personnel exhibiting a core body temperature drop below 95 degrees, 35 degrees C, without external cause, must be immediately quarantined regardless of other symptoms. Hypothermic resonance is an early sign of influence. Rule 8. Spontaneous bleeding from the eyes, ears, or nose indicates extreme proximity to a highly active subject or containment breach. Terminate affected personnel without hesitation to prevent cascading events. Protocol override. Survival. I read the list 3 times, each rule more terrifying than the last, painting a picture of horrors I couldn't comprehend. What were these subjects? What did Jack mean, it's waking up? Outside the cafe window, the weak afternoon sun was already dying, and snow had begun to fall, thick and heavy, swallowing the light. Glenallen, Lloyd Atwood, Fimbulwinter, or run as far and fast as I could. The next morning, under a sky the color of lead, I packed my few belongings into the battered rental car. The Glen Highway, the only artery east, would be a treacherous ribbon of ice and snow. But the hazardous conditions also meant fewer travelers, fewer eyes. As I merged onto the highway, my burner phone vibrated. Unknown number. The message was brief. Anchorage compromised. They know. Ditch phone. Find Lloyd, remember Rule 4. Masters of voices. My hands shaking, I rolled down the window and hurled the phone into a towering snowdrift beside the road. Then I pressed down hard on the accelerator, the small engine whining in protest. Anchorage vanished behind me in the swirling white curtain. Ahead lay 150 miles of frozen, unforgiving wilderness, separating me from Glenallen. Separating me from answers, perhaps. Or more likely, separating me from the unspeakable nightmare Jack Reeves had warned was stirring from its ancient slumber beneath the Alaskan ice. The isolation pressed in, the vast emptiness outside mirroring the hollowness inside me. I was driving towards the heart of the storm, armed only with a handful of cryptic rules and the chilling echo of a dead man's warning. The journey had begun, a descent into a frozen hell disguised as research. Site Mimir awaited, a place where science had unearthed something monstrous, something that defied explanation, something that didn't adhere to the rules of nature, only its own terrifying protocols. And I, Michael Trevino, formerly presumed dead, was heading straight for it, a moth drawn to an icy, deadly flame.